Okay. So welcome everyone to Discovery Convos. Before we begin, I want to start by paying my respects to the people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which I live and which I'm meeting you on. I want to pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. At Discovery College, we acknowledge that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders are the first people of Australia, that sovereignty was never ceded, and that they remain strong in their enduring connection to land and culture. So, welcome. I'm Claire. I am white Anglo-Saxon Australian. I grew up on the land of the Eora Nation, which is Queensland. I use she/her pronouns. I've ridden the waves of mental health challenges for myself, and I've also known and cared and supported for a lot of other people who have. And I have an education background, and I work for Discovery College. Discovery College is a mental health education program. Usually we run courses in person. We run courses for young people, professionals, families, carers, basically anyone who wants to learn about topics in mental health. The kind of unique thing about the way we work is that we think there's not one right way to think about mental health. And so we often take a topic, like today we're taking self-care, and we pull on different experiences, different perspectives, different professional views or cultural or spiritual angles, and we try and learn something. We try and take something to put into our toolkits to support ourselves and to support others in our lives. So our online version of doing that is Discovery Convos, and that means we've been having weekly chats with lots of different perspectives about their experience in mental health, and we decided to start with the idea of self-care. So today I have with me Britt, who's an exercise physiologist, and Joe, who is an occupational therapist. So welcome. Thank you both for making time to be in this space today. It's awesome. So I guess it's a bit of a strange time in our world. So let's hear, where are you talking to us from and how are you going? Who wants to start?
Britt, do you want to start or should I start?
You go, Joe.
All right. I'm currently at my partner's house working from home today. It's a Tuesday, and this is kind of the space that I've been using to work from home, just to have kind of my own little private space. We've had quite a lot of change on the team just with coronavirus and everything going around. So we're doing a lot more kind of telehealth, this kind of interaction with a lot of the clients.
And how are you going with it all?
Yeah, it's definitely an adjustment. Yeah. I mean, our team is kind of like an acute outreach team. And so we do a lot more support in the community, at people's homes, going out and actually doing sort of practical things. So this has been quite a change, I think, for a lot of our clients and us as well. But it's actually, I think, provided quite a large ability for us to reach clients in a little bit of a different way that normally wouldn't be used to this kind of thing. We have clients that struggle to kind of see the doctor sometimes and things. And if we are out in the community seeing them, we can just lift up the phone and have a bit of a chat with the doctor straight away. So that's awesome. So it's got its ups and downs, but I think we've all kind of been getting used to it really well. I think it's worked pretty well.
Oh, that's great. And what about you, Britt? How are you and where are you chatting from?
I'm chatting from on-site today, Headspace Bentley. I'm on one of the teams that comes in on a Tuesday, Thursday, so it's nice to kind of be in the workplace a little bit. Originally, we were working from home kind of full-time for a couple of weeks there, but yeah, it's been nice to get back on site and see some people. But yeah, I mean, I guess like Joe said, most of what I would have previously done is very practical as an exercise physiologist. So we often see people one-on-one, kind of at the centre or do some group stuff. But yeah, usually or always very face-to-face and very hands-on and very practical. So it's been a real change and a bit of, I guess, flipping everything on its head. But like Joe said, I guess there's been some positives and changes to the way we do things, online groups, talking to people more over the phone and supporting in that way. So yeah, it's been very different and discovering a lot of new things, I think.
Okay, well, great, thank you. So a resounding kind of thing we heard was that people wanted to talk about self-care, and we think it's great that you can bring your expertise to this space. So I thought for a bit of fun, it might be good to start with, like, what is the worst self-care tip you've ever been given?
The worst self-care tip I've ever been given. I don't know. I mean, I guess sometimes when people sit down and have a chat to their friends, or, not everybody kind of has headspace involvement, people kind of look to their friends for support and self-care tips as well. I think just people don't really sometimes know what to say to people in general around things. And so you end up kind of venting or talking about something, and people just say what they think will be helpful. One thing that kind of used to frustrate me was when they just go, "Oh, just don't worry about it." just don't worry about it. And I'm just like, well, okay, thanks. That's kind of hard. Your brain just does.
I've never thought of that before.
Your brain just kind of does what it does. And so if it worries, and that's just part of it. And so I think not doing something is really hard. I would prefer just to do something else in its place, So yeah, we can talk a little bit more about that a bit later, but
that's great. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We'll talk about that later. Okay, and Britt, what about you?
I could definitely align with that, but I think mine is probably more, people suggesting, I guess, things that work for them and kind of assume that it'll work for you. So like the classic kind of, treat yourself, like go out and, buy something or do some retail shopping, like, or, retail therapy as they call it. And like I think I was saying previously to you guys, like I am a very indecisive person in my own time, kind of outside of work. So that's like, for me, more stressful than anything. It's like the idea of going out and just wandering the shops like casually.
Yeah.
It's not something that I would find therapeutic or like something that I would do to kind of bring a sense of like calm or peace to myself, like at all.
Adding another decision to the pile of decisions you're probably thinking about doesn't help as well.
Yeah, well, that's just it. I mean, my family lovingly refer to me as Decisive Dave. And so adding decisions into the mix is not something that I would just willingly do.
Yeah. I get that. Okay, so then I think we're going to hear a lot of different ways you can approach self-care. So I guess it might be good to give people a little bit of context and say, what is your expertise professionally, and what will you bring through that today?
Sure. So as you said earlier, I'm an occupational therapist by trade. I'm one of the acting senior mental health clinicians, so a case manager within the youth early psychosis program at Headspace, specifically on the mobile assessment and treatment team. So we do kind of, like I said before, a bit more acute outreach, kind of people who have either just been discharged from hospital or are requiring kind of a little bit more support prior to going into hospital, obviously trying to kind of keep people in the community. And so, I think a lot of people kind of ask me sometimes like what an OT does and what is an occupational therapist. A lot of young people kind of discuss, you help people sort of get back to work. You work with their occupation. And we do actually do that as well. But occupation kind of refers to like all the things that people choose to spend their time doing. So like your morning routine, your cooking, your shopping, work, school, whatever it is you decide to actually do with your time. And so we work across kind of lots of different settings, physical health and mental health, trying to just help people get back to kind of the things that they need and want to do with their time. We kind of look at different models, I guess, that we use to kind of look at a person, all the different aspects of them and their social and physical environments, and kind of help identify some of the things in their life which might not be really beneficial to their ongoing health, And then we look at ways to kind of try and support and encourage them to explore different things that they can do for themselves to kind of promote change, which includes a lot of things like self-care. So
Yeah.
I guess
So,
in a nutshell, that's kind of it.
yeah. So what is, if you think from your perspective as an OT, what is different or unique about the way you approach self-care with that lens or hat on? Or...
I think we're kind of quite pragmatic. Like we often ask people, well, what do you do with your time? You know, how do you spend your day? What is your routine? What is the structure of your day look like? And it's kind of those things that you do every day that make up your habits and how you kind of spend your time doing throughout the day. So I think OTs really have a unique approach to kind of offer people lots of different strategies. I'm not sure how much you want to know about it, but I think we're often people look at occupational therapists for things like sensory profiles, and I think there's a lot of work within that space which OTs do to try and help people, in lots of different ways around their self-care.
I think just while we're on a roll here, I was thinking the other day you mentioned, when people are processing big things, that's when people go, self-care is important. But I thought was really interesting was you talked about even just the point of distraction is a point to taking care of ourselves, in terms of that was one thing that OTs jam on a bit.
Yeah, look, I think OT just in general is one giant distraction technique. I mean, go and do something, go and go for a walk, go and do this. And oftentimes people can kind of look at it, I think, as maybe avoiding things, but really going out and the things that you choose to do with your time in your life really can actually have a massive impact on how you feel about yourself and your thoughts and your emotions. And so I think OT has the ability to actually empower people a lot more than, I don't know, just the way that we approach it, I guess, the things that you do. So you have choice over that. And so you can actually go out and even if you're feeling bad, even though if it's hard, you can still do this or do that. And those things can often positively influence your mood, how you're feeling, and also your thoughts. And those kind of things are all connected. And so that's one thing that people often have control over, I suppose, in their recovery.
Yeah. And I think as well, you were talking about that kind of, it's building that awareness about your sensory needs or how those things impact the way that we move through the world. So in terms of it's thinking about your daily routine environment and the way we can, once we begin to understand our sensory needs around that, we can help manage our experiences, maybe. Does that?
Yeah, look, I think, we can look at lots of different strategies and things to help people around self-care, and sensory profiles are something that OTs often do with clients. And that's really kind of around exploring your different senses. So sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing. And kind of, that's really how we take in and process information, which kind of makes up the collective agreed upon version of reality that we kind of know. And so that's sort of one way that we can look at how people kind of manage how they're feeling a bit. I think sometimes people can get really overwhelmed with things and not quite know what to do. And we look at kind of games and different grounding exercises that people can do, setting up a home environment to kind of have a space to go and recharge. And as Britt said, certain strategies are kind of work well for one person, but not for another. And so sensory strategies are also quite the same. Everybody has a very unique and different profile. Some people are more auditory and kind of learn better that way. Some people are more visual. And so once you kind of get a little bit of an understanding about how a person understands the world, you can do quite a lot more around setting up a space for them to feel more comfortable, to actually explore different things that might help them. I think on our team, it's also, we work a lot with kind of like acute stages of recovery. So usually either just out of hospital or about to go into a hospital. And I think some of the strategies are a little bit different. So we look at kind of grounding exercises, like 3 things that you can smell, 3 things that you can see 3 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, and 3 things you can taste. And it kind of brings people back into the moment, grounds them a bit. There's lots of little things like that, but a lot of that kind of is around sensory stuff.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm sure you can tell us a million different strategies, but we'll just do a bit of a reframe of the idea today. So that's really great. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, sure.
Britt, what about you in terms of what your context is, how you came to your work?
So I guess I am part of the recovery program within Headspace. So I am an exercise physiologist, and I have previously, I guess, worked more with physical health conditions, although we always, I guess, take in mind, lots of other factors that might be contributing. Headspace is quite unique in that, I guess, first and foremost, it's a mental health service, but there's still physical health components that come into that. And as I guess we're all learning more and more as the years go by, it's very connected, physical health, mental health, our mind and body. But yeah, within the recovery program, I see people either individually or I help out with some of the groups. And yeah, it's really just helping people achieve recovery goals. And sometimes that might be more physical health related, getting back into sport or physical activity. A lot of us tend to drop off from sporting things. Sometimes when, we feel like we have a lot going on, sometimes that, I guess, exercise element or being active is one of the first things to go. So I was looking at reintroducing that. And then the other side of it, I guess, is, what exercise is helpful for mood or what exercise might be helpful for someone's particular goals. And, really working with people kind of explore that.
So then on that, what do you think is different or unique about what you bring to self-care from the EP perspective?
Probably, it's, I guess, a more physical approach to it. I think, as I said, mind and body are very connected. So for me, self-care is often about like what I need, maybe mentally, but also what I need physically. Like, am I overdoing it, physically, and do I need to take a break? And, is that through something like yoga, which is kind of like a mindful movement, and it's going to slow me down and allow me kind of time and space to think things through, or to not be like go, go, go. Because I think that sometimes we get caught up in that and we're so active or doing work in like 1,000 things at once that we're not switching off. So I think you can use movement, I guess, to have different effects. And so I guess that's my approach to self-care, is how you're using different movements, different types of exercise, I think mindful movement.
But I think, the other day, something you said that struck me was the idea of comes from a sense of self. So thinking of if I want like connection, or if I want grounding, or if I want that physical release of things, like you more go from that sense of what you feel you need, and that's connected then to the physical part of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's only something that comes with trying different things and with time. But I think that is one of the real benefits of doing things in a movement way, in an active way, is, I guess, for me, a lot of part of like self-care is actually understanding what you need, because how can you care or give yourself that if you don't know? And so I think doing different types of activity or trying different things gives you more self-awareness and more awareness of your body or what you're feeling and that sort of thing. And so it's a real key to it, because how can you give yourself the right tools to help that if you don't know what it is that you actually need? So exploring things like, social connection through sport, or yoga for that calming relaxation, or just focus on breath sort of thing, or whether it be like you're really flat, you need to energize, like that can be self-care at the gym.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of that then, for both of you, does the term self-care actually really fit for you? Would you use that phrase, or do you prefer different languaging around it?
Look, I think it does sound a little bit clinical. That's just my opinion. We talk about it a lot, obviously at work, and it kind of encompasses a whole lot. But I think when I'm speaking to a young person, I try to look at kind of more ways of just saying, hey, what do you do to kind of look after yourself, or when you're feeling not so great, or what do some of those things look like? And I think it's a little bit more conversational, I guess, as a term. I'm not sure what you think, Britt.
Yeah, I've probably used the term self-care more in the last couple of weeks than ever before. I think it's getting thrown out around a lot. But I think for me, it's not something I would have typically used in the past, but I think I'd use like well-being or, being mindful or, just how we do like take care of our needs and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think well-being is probably one of the ones that I would use to say that sort of thing.
And you were just saying it's been quite heightened the way we talk about it over the last period. From both of your, like from an EP and OT perspective, how do you think that your expertises would be really helpful since we've been a bit maybe isolated or since we've been able to do less?
I think people have been thrown quite a lot during this period. Their routine and structures kind of fallen by the wayside a lot and had to kind of reinvent itself. And you have to be quite a lot more reactive, I think, in that kind of situation. And so when that happens, I think people tend to actually forget or just avoid their self-care because they're kind of, busy doing other things or worried about this or that. So you have to actually, I think, sometimes actively take time to readjust that and recreate what it looks like within kind of a new space or a new environment. A lot of people are kind of changing up the way they're working or changing up the way they're going to school or doing a lot more online stuff. And so I think self-care kind of requires that active role where you say, hey, how am I feeling right now? I'm doing a bit of a check-in. What do I need? How do I kind of prevent or avoid at the end of the day, just feeling really crap or drained or worn out? Are there little things that I'm doing throughout my day which kind of give me some space to kind of take time out for myself? I think a lot of people have just different lives and very different ways of living. And so, self-care just ends up, I think, becoming one of those things that people need to actively prioritize a little bit more.
Yeah. Not just don't worry about it.
Yeah, just don't worry about it.
Just do it. What about you, Britt, in terms of seeing that shift a little bit?
I think there's been a lot of different ways that, it's been important from an EP's perspective for self-care during this time. And I guess the most obvious for a lot of people is that, I like to go to the gym and my gym's closed. So navigating what that looks like for them, what their options are, exploring, like I guess I said, other modes of exercise. Like you'll see lots more runners out or people cycling these days or getting into online tutorials and videos. And I really liked that it's become a bit more like open and kind of out there about, it's really important to be active for like physical health and mental health. And there's so many like more resources online at the moment that, some cost, some are free. And just the number and the ways that they're trying to engage people kind of within their home has been great. But then there's also the other side, I think, that's, it's promoting the physical health benefits and the mental health benefits. And I guess people really latching on to I can go out for a walk still. And that's been really great. Like that's what's broken up my day and made me feel good. And especially if you're working from home and stuff, we're not used to that necessarily. Like I've never worked from home before all of this. And reminding myself to take care of myself and have breaks, go for a walk, sit well, take care of my work setup and my posture. There was, quite a lot of self-care at the start that was kind of there's a lot that I kind of need to factor in and do to kind of make myself feel okay through this, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, tying to what we both just said there about that we do sometimes have to take an active role in how we take care of ourselves, obviously, and then these kind of forcing restrictions we've seen more windows to do the physical stuff because it's the only thing you're able to do maybe. So it's maybe has been a nice space of a bit more awareness and obviously seeing things which are helpful and unhelpful in terms of our self-care.
Yeah. I think it's definitely added a space for reflection, which people maybe wouldn't have had a lot more time to themselves in their own space. Obviously, if everything's shifted, I think, Britt, what you said about mental health and physical health. I think people forget that they're actually linked, that they all influence, one influences the other. And so, if you're feeling crap and you're at home, you can actually do something about it, but maybe not if your gym's closed. So then you're not going out and doing anything. So maybe you end up doing yoga at home or something online, but you have to be more active, I think, in that, because normally you might have a bit of a routine that you access to go to the gym. And so all that gets a little bit thrown. And I think it's been actually quite a space where a lot of people have grown in a lot of ways as well, in exploring different self-care options that maybe they wouldn't have normally tried.
Yeah. Well, thank you both I won't hold you any longer, but thank you both for bringing yourselves to the space today and sharing your ideas and expertise. We really appreciate it. Just do a little, if we're obviously Discovery College, we are not generally a therapeutic space, so we're about learning. So we do have a blog on our website if you would like to access any services. They're all Australia based, but they could be a good place to start. You could also follow us on Instagram or Facebook if you wanted to watch other conversations we're having. Otherwise, you can check us out on our website, which is discovery.college. But yeah, just another huge thank you, Britt and Joe. Thank you for making space today. Appreciate it.
That's all right. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.